Hello everybody and welcome to the Cube Vanguard. You're seeing something different today, aren't you? Yes, and I just explained in my CKA series of the week that I've been fighting with the video situation where you wear glasses and then the light reflects and you get this annoying like white thing in the middle of your eyes and people like think you're trying to hypnotize them or something or turn them into a zombie. And I was fiddling with it and apparently there's ways around it. It was a big pain in the neck. I'm an IT person. I'm not Mr. Video. If I had been, maybe I'd be in Hollywood right now. I'm not. I'm here. So what I've done is taken off my glasses and I solved the problem. Now, the only issue with that is everything's kind of fuzzy. I mean, not normally. I can walk down the street and things aren't fuzzy until it starts to get dark. And then things start to get fuzzy. And that can be an issue when I'm cycling. So I got to be really careful. But it's not getting worse, I don't think. Last time I went to the optometrist. I was like, what do they call a doctor for eyes? Optometrist. And I'm always terrified to go in there because, the prices are, anyways, and they always, try to give you the Lamborghini versions. And this one doctor, she was very mean. She must have been like in her late 60s, okay? And she did my test. She went, oh my goodness, your eyesight's even worse than mine. And I was looking, oh, this is really encouraging. I'm not coming back here. And I didn't. Anyways, so while I'm talking, I took off my glasses and now there's no reflection. What are we talking about today in the K10 documentation series? We are talking about location profiles. So we've moved on from the dashboard using K10 and we're going to talk about location profiles. Okay, so for this, I'll have to put my glasses on and also switch the screen thing. If I don't have my glasses on, I'd be a terrible engineer. There'd be, the internet would collapse. Not going to happen. I will just switch and put my glasses on. Now I'm down the corner and the zombieing effect from the white little dot, whatever, probably isn't as bad. Okay, location profiles. So again, we go to the documentation. You can see it's version 6.6.0.1 now, okay? But we won't talk about that. There's some small changes. I think anything huge. But we want to concentrate because we use up all our time talking about the changes. So last week we talked about the dashboard. Very straightforward. This week, we're going to talk about location profiles, and I've got it here, the location profile part of the documentation. Now, what is a location profile? Basically, a location profile is where you want to hold your backups, okay? So those snapshots that you in K10 are not backups, okay? What you want to have is location profiles where you will export your backups. The snapshots will be exported so that you can recover them from a location which is not in your cluster, okay? Very important fact, and it is a must. You can use K10 and not have a location profile and just do local snapshots, but that's really risky business. It's like, owning a house without insurance or driving around a car without insurance or just, not having insurance at all or healthcare. You don't want to do it, okay? So location profile, very important. Second part, your location profile is where your disaster is going to be. No, it's where it shouldn't be. Where your K10 disaster recovery will be located too. So K10 disaster recovery is when you keep a copy of your K10 also somewhere else. You can recover that, and as long as you have access to your exported location configuration as well, you can then restore things very easily. You don't have to use little codes and stuff if you do it singularly. We'll talk about that later when we talk about restoring and backing up, but keep that in mind. Two things, location profile. Disaster, K10 disaster recovery, so you're just making let's say a copy of K10 to put somewhere else, and your backups will be in the location profile. Not the snapshots, not the snapshots. The generic will also go there too, by the way. So this is where you want to keep things. All right, documentation is very straightforward. It shows you where it is. Talks about location profiles of different types. There's Amazon S3, there's S3 compatible. That's what I'm using here. Azure storage, Google storage, and it's giving you a rundown on how to create these, okay? Very straightforward. Really, I haven't had any problems with this at all. I've never been stuck. You can also use NFS, okay? So you can use an NFS file storage location. So you have to have NFS. This would probably be for on-prem, obviously. I've done it once or twice, but I tend to use S3. And you will see here Veeam repository, okay? I think I've talked about this before. You can use a Veeam repository, however, only for backups or workloads that have the CSI vSphere CSI driver, okay? vSphere CSI driver. And there's another caveat. that'll only keep the data portion. The metadata would still have to go to a location profile, okay? So that's something that's developing, it's in progress, but keep that in mind, okay? And it's also an important thing to point out that people have talked about instant restore being available now. Instant restore is available. Obviously, Veeam repository, I believe as well, has to obviously be there because you're going to do it from Veeam, but only for FCD vSphere disk, so first class disk. Keep that in mind, okay? But things are moving. So it goes through all the different ways to set these up with different things. And there's some little important notes about VBR, similar to what I talked about. Immutable backups, okay, it's possible to be immutable. So on S3, if you put object lock on the box, you'll be able to use immutable, and there's a way to set that up as well. So it's very important. And this talks about how you're going to do it. And there's actually a check when you enable it. Enable immutable backups, and it'll test and tell you if everything's okay. See that right here. So it validates the bucket. So you go in knowing that it's all set up. Yes, it's okay. It will work. Not find out when it's time to restore, or when Mr. Ransomware has come along, or Mrs. Ransomware, or ransomware period, and has ransomware to all your backups. Immutable. It's going to tell you it's immutable, and it will be immutable. So that's okay. So why don't we look at this in real life? This is the documentation again. It's very clear. Let's go to our little cluster. So first of all, we'll go to settings because that's where it's located, and it's conveniently over here on the side, location profile. It's actually the first one. So that's how important Kasten believe this is. You want to have a location profile. So what have I done here? I've set up a local MinIO, which I'll pull out from here somewhere. Let me just find it. So being really lazy, I just went in the command line, I downloaded the binary, and there it is. And look, I'm using the absolute do not never do MinIO admin because of the test environment. It actually warns you about that. It says detected default credentials. So it's warning you that that's not good to do. Don't do it in production. But this is for test. It's on my laptop, and there is the API which I connected to. Okay, so it's port 9000 on MinIO, and here 9090 is where I went in to create my bucket. So you have to create a bucket beforehand if you're using S3 compatible. It used to be that we'd create one for you. You have to do that. And I created it, and there it is, and status is valid. What I like about the location profile also is that it doesn't just say it's valid. If you're just trustful like me, you can press revalidate, okay? I don't trust it. Is it really valid? And it'll still be valid, okay? If I wanted to create a new profile, you press the button and it gives you a choice. And look at that. And this will probably grow. Right now I've got Amazon S3, Azure, Google Cloud Storage, NFS Store, File Store, S3 compatible, and Veeam repository, okay? So let's take a look at mine that I've set up. There it is. It's S3 compatible. When you bring it up like this, it won't show you the access key or secret key. Okay, you have to put it back in. I just put custom region. You can put a region there, and I did not make this immutable. At some point in the future, we can do that. For this little show, I didn't want to. I'll cancel that because I don't remember the access key. Well, no, of course I do. It's MinIO admin. How could I forget? All right, so let's see how this works when you do a backup. So let's go to one of my backups. Let's go to, let's do Kasten disaster recovery one, because that's just a backup too, by the way. Let's press run once. That's what we do. We run it once. We'll go back to the dashboard, and we will see it running once it loads. So off it goes. It's running, and it will be sending to that location profile. So it's not a snapshot. It's actually grabbing this and sending it off to the location profile. And by the way, while it's doing that, let's just see where I sent it to. If you look here, it says use a location profile, MinIO 1. So I could have multiple location profiles, and I could have picked another one. In this case, I've only got one, and I'm sending it to MinIO. Okay, so let's go back. Let's take a look at what is happening here. It's loading. That's looking good. 98 completed. Boom. Okay. So everything's successful. It sent it off, obviously, to the location profile. Let's just see. Everything's good. Again, if you press on the backup itself, you get all this information, which is nice. And it'll tell you everything that it is doing. Okay, got config maps, everything it's sending over. This is all the Kasten stuff. Okay, it's the Kasten DR. So not much really to see here. apart from the fact that it was successful, right? Right. So, very simple. That's location profiles. You must have them, in my opinion. If you're doing just a demo, even for a demo, I mean, you can create it on your laptop. Just MinIO, download MinIO, go through the instructions, and there you have it. Okay, so why next? Why not next? Or why next not? Why not next week we look at immutable? Okay, I will create an immutable bucket. In fact, I think if I don't babble too much at the very beginning, we could even do that from step one, i.e. in MinIO. Create the immutable bucket and then connect it through Kasten. All right, so that's next week. I also owe the viewers something from my little CKA. I was creating showing services, and I decided to create node port. This is Windows Subsystem for Linux, so it's not just a normal Kubernetes setup. And so there's a problem if you use node port because this is not like virtual machines with nodes which have an IP address. So I'll have to show that next week in my CKA tips. Believe me, it works. If it doesn't work in the demo, then you know it works in reality. All right, we'll see you next week at the Cube Vanguard.